growth is when you start checking and correcting yourself. It's about recognizing your flaws and embracing the journey of self-improvement. This process requires honesty and courage, as it often means facing uncomfortable truths. But in doing so, you pave the way for a stronger and more authentic version of yourself. 100%. The biggest thing that I would like to focus on is it often means facing uncomfortable truths, which means, being honest about those things within ourselves that are not working. Being honest about the things that we're uncomfortable with talking about, or some of the things that we might be thinking or doing that don't look so good to other people, or is detrimental to us in a way that we know it deep down inside, we know it, but we continue to do it anyway. But we continue to say it anyway, or think it anyway, or behave like that anyway. Our ego is what gets in the way, because our ego loves the familiar. It loves, because that's where it's safe. Your ego will try to stop you from facing these truths about yourself and say, "Oh no, you're good. You don't need to change. I wasn't wrong. I'm fine." We have to constantly go through these ego deaths. We have to constantly challenge our egos if we really want to grow. That's what self-improvement is all about. Understanding that we all have flaws, and we have to embrace them and learn to love on them. If you're not holding yourself accountable, if you're not being honest with yourself, you're not growing. You're not able to be open to new mindsets and new ideas that will help support you and to improve yourself. I say this all the time. You can lie to other people. You can fool the world. But you cannot lie to yourself, because deep down on the inside, you know the truth. And so if you continue to deny yourself that truth or avoid the truth, you're not evolving. You're never going to grow past a certain level, because you're not facing the truth about who you really are. You're not really being authentic to yourself. So how can you continue to grow and become the most authentic version of yourself if you're not being honest with yourself? And the truth hurts. Isn't that a quote? It may be cliche, but it's so true. The truth may hurt, but you have to get through that uncomfortableness of the truth. You have to sit with that uncomfortability. Get comfortable with being uncomfortable. One of my uncomfortable truths is, how can I expect people to come in my life if I'm not being open? I can't expect people to just come into my life, or I can't expect to have these relationships or connections if I'm not being myself, if I'm not being open and loving and sharing. I oftentimes be afraid of opening up, because I don't want to be hurt again. But the uncomfortable truth is, you can't be afraid to be hurt again. I can't expect people to come into my life if I'm not being open, if I'm not embracing new opportunities, if I'm not putting myself out there, if I'm not networking. I can't expect, people to come into my life, and that's the truth that I have to face. If I want to continue to evolve and grow, then I'm going to have to face that truth, sit with it, and work towards something better. Make the necessary changes, or I'm just going to stay stagnant. And who wants to stay stagnant? We see people in our lives now that are stagnant. Years and years and years, they're still the same person.